Hey everyone! Ready to dive deep into how to nail those cybersecurity engineer interviews? You sent us this awesome Algo Academy blog post with a ton of great tips, and we're going to break it all down for you.
It's a really hot field right now.
Yeah.
So much demand for cybersecurity pros. It's pretty exciting.
For sure. So the post starts by talking about the role itself. What does a cybersecurity engineer actually do day to day?
Well, they're kind of like the guardians of an organization's digital world, right? Protecting networks, systems, all that sensitive data. They're the architects and the defenders all in one.
That's a pretty cool way to put it. Sounds like a dynamic role.
Definitely is. Some days you might be designing secure networks. Others you're testing for vulnerabilities or maybe even investigating a security breach.
Wow, so no 2 days are the same. The post then goes on to break down the interview process. What are the typical stages?
Okay, so usually it kicks off with a screening call, probably with HR.
Okay, so first impressions matter, even if it's just a phone call.
You got it. They're checking your basic qualifications, seeing how you communicate, just kind of getting a feel for you.
Makes sense. So after that initial screening, what's next?
Usually it's a technical phone interview with a more senior cybersecurity person or maybe even the hiring manager. This is where they start digging into your technical knowledge.
Okay, so this is where things start to get real, huh?
Yeah, for sure. They might ask about network security protocols or different types of encryption, stuff like that.
So what kind of specific topics might come up in this technical phone interview?
Well, they might ask about firewalls, for example, but not just like, what is a firewall? They could ask about the differences between stateful and stateless firewalls, or how you would configure a firewall to protect a specific type of network. Get into the nitty-gritty.
So you got to know your stuff inside and out. What comes after the technical phone interview?
Usually, if you do well in the phone interview, you'll get invited for an on-site or virtual technical interview. This is where they really put your skills to the test.
Oh, I bet. Like a whole room full of cybersecurity experts grilling you.
Something like that. It could be multiple rounds of questions, hands-on exercises, maybe even some whiteboarding sessions.
Wow. Sounds pretty intense. What kind of hands-on exercises might they give you?
It really varies. It could be anything from analyzing network traffic logs to identify potential threats to actually writing secure code on the spot. They want to see how you think on your feet.
Okay, so you got to be quick on your toes. Let's say you totally rock the technical rounds, impress them with your skills. Is that it? Is the interview process over?
Not quite. There's often a behavioral interview as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is where they focus on those all-important soft skills, teamwork, communication, problem solving, that kind of thing.
Some people might think those soft skills aren't as important in a technical field, but I bet they're crucial in cybersecurity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Cybersecurity is rarely a solo mission. You're always working as part of a team, explaining complex stuff to people who might not be technical. Good communication is key.
Makes sense. So even the most brilliant hacker needs to be able to explain things in a way everyone understands. What about that final interview the Algo Academy post mentioned? The one with senior leadership?
Ah, yeah. That one's usually less about the technical nitty-gritty and more about making sure you're a good fit for the company culture.
So, like, do you share their values? Can they see themselves working with you long term? That kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about the bigger picture.
Okay, so we've got a good overview of the different stages. Now let's dive into those specific skills that cybersecurity engineer candidates need to showcase. The Algo Academy post breaks it down into technical skills and soft skills. Let's start with the technical must-haves. What are some of the biggies?
Well, network security is super important. Understanding firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention systems, VPNs, wireless network security, all that good stuff.
That's like the foundation of everything, right? What else is crucial?
Encryption and cryptography are essential too. You got to be able to talk about different encryption methods like asymmetric encryption for secure communication channels.
So it's not just about building the walls, it's also about making sure the information flowing through them is protected.
Exactly. And what about those ethical hacking skills everyone's talking about these days?
Oh yeah, penetration testing. That sounds pretty cool. Like thinking like a hacker, but for good.
Exactly. You need to know about different methodologies and tools for finding vulnerabilities before the bad guys do. Of course, always emphasizing those ethical hacking principles.
I can see why companies are looking for people with those skills, finding those weaknesses before they become a problem. What about when those inevitable breaches do happen? How do you deal with those?
That's where threat detection and incident response come in. You need to know about tools like security information and event management systems, or SIMs for short. They help you analyze all that security data from different sources and respond to potential threats.
So it's not just about preventing attacks, but knowing how to react quickly and effectively when something does happen. The Alga Academy post also mentions cloud security as a key skill. Why is that so important?
Well, because the cloud has changed everything, hasn't it? More and more organizations are moving their data and applications to the cloud, and that opens up a whole new set of security challenges. You got to understand the different cloud models, the security tools, the compliance requirements, all of it.
It's like cybersecurity is constantly evolving, right? Always something new to learn.
Exactly. That's what keeps it interesting. Speaking of new things, the post also mentions coding and scripting skills. Are those a must-have for cybersecurity engineers?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, like how much coding is actually involved.
It depends on the role, but knowing languages like Python or Bash can be a big advantage. You can automate tasks, build your own security tools, even analyze malware. It's like having an extra set of tools in your cybersecurity toolkit.
Makes sense. So we've covered the technical side. Now let's talk about those essential soft skills. Communication is obviously key, but how do you really showcase that in an interview?
It's all about showing you can explain complex technical concepts clearly to anyone.
Uh.
Think about explaining encryption to your grandma.
Haha, that's a good one. You might have to talk to HR who's not technical or even explain security risks to a client who just wants the basics.
Exactly. You got to tailor your language to your audience.
Right.
What about problem-solving skills? How do you demonstrate those?
Yeah, it's easy to say you're a good problem solver. How do you actually show it?
It's all about showcasing how you think critically, break down complex problems, and come up with creative solutions. Use examples from your experience, like a time you had to troubleshoot a tricky network issue or mitigate a security threat.
Right. Show, don't tell. The Algo Academy post also mentions adaptability. Why is that so important in cybersecurity?
Well, the threat landscape is always changing, right?
Yeah.
New vulnerabilities pop up every day, new attack methods, new technologies. You got to be able to adapt quickly and learn new things, stay ahead of the curve.
So you can't be afraid of change in this field. And what about teamwork? How can someone really show they can work effectively as part of a team?
It's all about highlighting your communication skills, your willingness to collaborate, and your ability to contribute to a positive team environment. Use examples from past projects where you worked with others to achieve a common goal.
So share those success stories where teamwork really made a difference. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground on both the technical and soft skills that are crucial for these roles. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore some common interview questions and some strategies for absolutely acing those interviews.
Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment with part 2.
And we're back. In part 1, we talked about what cybersecurity engineers do and that whole interview process, what to expect.
Covered a lot of ground. Yeah, all those essential technical skills and those all-important soft skills too.
But how do you actually build those skills? Where do you even begin?
Well, one of the best ways to get that hands-on experience is to set up a home lab. It's like your own little cybersecurity playground.
A home lab, huh? So do I need, like, racks of servers and all sorts of fancy equipment? That sounds expensive.
Not at all. You can start small, really small, even just an old computer or a virtual machine. There are tons of free security tools online. You can use them to practice setting up firewalls, analyzing network traffic, all sorts of things.
So I can basically build my own little cybersecurity training ground at home. I like the sound of that. Any other resources you'd recommend for building those foundational skills?
Absolutely. The CISSP Common Body of Knowledge, or CBK for short, is a fantastic resource. It covers a huge range of cybersecurity topics. It's a great way to get a solid grasp of the key concepts and principles.
I've heard of that. It's like the Bible for cybersecurity pros, right?
Pretty much. And then there's the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. It's another great resource that provides a set of standards and guidelines for managing cybersecurity risk.
Yeah.
Really helpful stuff.
Okay, so those are great for the theoretical side. What about getting some more hands-on experience, like really putting those skills to the test?
For that, I'd recommend online platforms like Hack the Box or TryHackMe. They're like virtual hacking gyms. You can practice all sorts of things, from penetration testing to incident response. It's a fun way to learn and build your confidence.
Hacking gyms. I love that. So you've got home labs, the CISP, CBK, NIST framework, and these online hacking gyms. It seems like there's no shortage of resources for building those cybersecurity chops.
Definitely not. And the best part is a lot of these resources are free or super affordable.
That's great news for anyone who's just starting out in this field. The Algo Academy post also talks about staying up to date with the latest cybersecurity news and trends. It seems like things change so quickly in this field.
Oh, they absolutely do. New vulnerabilities are discovered all the time, new attack methods. It's a constant learning process.
So how do you keep up with it all? Where do you even start?
Well, following reputable cybersecurity news sources and blogs is a good place to start. The SANS Institute has a great resource called the Internet Storm Center. They provide really up-to-date info on emerging threats and vulnerabilities.
So if there's a new zero-day exploit out there, they'll be the first to let you know.
Yep. And then there's Krebs on Security. Brian Krebs is a fantastic security journalist. He writes really in-depth articles on all sorts of cybersecurity topics.
Okay, so SANS Internet Storm Center for breaking news, Krebs on Security for a deeper dive. What about government alerts and advisories?
Oh, yeah. For that, you'll want to check out the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA. They provide info on threats and vulnerabilities that affect both government and private sector organizations.
Got it. SANS, Krebs, and CISA, the cybersecurity news trifecta.
Exactly. By keeping up with those sources, you'll be in a much better position to answer those interview questions about current trends, because you know they'll ask about that.
Oh, for sure. So let's talk about those interview questions. The ALG Academy post mentions that they'll often ask a mix of technical questions, scenario-based questions, and behavioral questions. Let's start with the technical ones. What kind of questions should someone be prepared for?
Well, they could ask you to explain a specific security concept, like the difference between symmetric and asymmetric encryption. Or they might throw a hypothetical network issue at you and ask you to troubleshoot it.
So those technical questions are really about testing your understanding of the fundamentals.
Yep. And then you've got those scenario-based questions. Those are designed to see how you think on your feet. They might give you a specific situation, like a data breach, and ask you to walk them through how you'd respond.
So it's not enough to just know the theory. You got to show you can actually apply it in a real-world situation.
Right. And then there's those behavioral questions. Those are all about assessing your soft skills like communication, teamwork, and problem solving.
Yeah, those soft skills are so important, like we talked about earlier. So what kind of behavioral questions might they ask?
They might ask you to describe a time when you had to work under pressure or how you handle conflict within a team, things like that.
So they want to get a sense of your personality and how you approach those interpersonal challenges.
Exactly. A great way to prepare for those behavioral questions is to think about specific examples from your past experiences that really highlight those skills.
So if they ask about working under pressure, you can tell a story about a time you had to deal with a major security incident, for example.
Exactly. And when you're telling those stories, the STAR method can be really helpful. Situation, task, action, result. It helps structure your answers and make sure you hit all the key points.
That's a good tip. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
So we've got the STAR method. What else can help you prepare for those tough interview questions?
Mock interviews. Doing mock interviews can be super helpful. It's like a dress rehearsal for the real thing. If you can, find someone who works in cybersecurity to do the mock interview with you. They give you some really valuable feedback.
So find a mentor or someone in the field who can help you practice. Great advice. The ALG Academy post also had some interesting stuff about practical exercises and coding challenges that might come up in cybersecurity engineer interviews. What's that all about?
Yeah, sometimes interviewers want to see your skills in action, not just hear you talk about them.
So what kind of practical exercises might they throw your way?
They might give you a network traffic log, maybe a packet capture, and ask you to analyze it for signs of malicious activity. Or they might give you a vulnerable web app and say, okay, find the security flaws and fix them.
So it's like they're giving you a taste of what it's actually like to work as a cybersecurity engineer.
Exactly. They want to see how you approach problems, how you apply your knowledge, how you think critically, all that good stuff.
These practical exercises sound pretty challenging. Any advice for someone who might be feeling a little intimidated by the prospect of having to code or analyze security data on the spot?
The best way to prepare is to practice. Set up that home lab. Work through those challenges on Hack the Box. Get comfortable using different security tools. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel.
So it all comes back to practice, 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 just like anything else.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions during the exercise. If you're not sure about something, just ask. It's better to ask than to make assumptions and go down the wrong rabbit hole.
That's a great point. It shows that you're thoughtful and that you're not afraid to ask for help when you need it. Speaking of asking questions, one of the best ways to stand out in an interview is to ask thoughtful questions of your own.
Oh, absolutely. Asking good questions shows that you're genuinely interested, that you've done your research, that you're really thinking about the company and their security challenges. It can really make a difference.
So what kind of questions should someone ask? What would impress you as an interviewer?
Ask about things that you're genuinely curious about. It could be about their security culture, their approach to specific threats, maybe their plans for implementing new technologies, or even ask about the interviewer's own experience in cybersecurity. People love to talk about themselves.
That's a great idea. It turns the interview into more of a conversation, and it shows that you're not just looking for any job. You're specifically interested in this company and this role.
Right. And don't forget to research the company thoroughly before the interview. Look at their website, their social media, any news articles about their security practices. The more you know, the better.
So it's all about being prepared and showing that you've done your homework, that you've really taken the time to learn about the company and their cybersecurity posture.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. We've talked about practical exercises, coding challenges, the importance of asking good questions. What else is there?
Well, in the final part, we'll wrap up with some insights on how to approach those interviews with confidence and really land that dream job in cybersecurity. How to really nail it.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with part 3. We're back for the final part of our cybersecurity engineer interview deep dive.
We've talked about the skills, the prep, even those tough interview questions.
Now it's time to really nail that interview, right?
Exactly. And it goes beyond just knowing your stuff. It's about presenting yourself with confidence, showing that you're passionate about this field.
Okay, so let's say you've done all the prep we've talked about. You're walking into the interview room. How do you project that confidence, especially if you're feeling nervous?
Well, honestly, the best way to combat nerves is to be prepared, right? The more you know, the more confident you'll feel. And it's not just about memorizing facts. It's about really understanding the concepts. Practice explaining them out loud, like you're teaching someone. It'll help solidify your knowledge and improve your communication skills.
So it's like becoming fluent in the language of cybersecurity.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to let your passion shine through. Talk about what excites you about this field, what challenges you enjoy. That genuine enthusiasm is contagious.
I can see how that would make a big difference. You're not just reciting information. You're showing you're really engaged. It's like you're saying, this is something I care about.
Right. And it all ties back to researching the company, tailoring your answers to their specific needs and challenges.
So instead of just saying, I'm good at incident response, you might talk about how your experience with a specific type of attack could be relevant to their industry.
Exactly. Now, even with all the prep in the world, you might get hit with a question that throws you off guard.
Oh, I hate those. What's the best way to handle those curveball questions?
Don't panic. Take a deep breath, gather your thoughts, and try to break down the question logically. Even if you don't know the answer right away, talking through your thought process can impress the interviewer.
So it's about showing that you can think critically, even under pressure.
Exactly. And it's okay to say, I'm not entirely sure, but here's how I'd approach finding the answer. It shows you're willing to learn and that you have a process.
That takes the pressure off having to know absolutely everything.
That's
It's
right.
more about showing that you're a problem solver.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask your own questions during the interview. It shows you're engaged and that you've done your research.
What kind of questions would impress you?
Ask about things that genuinely interest you, about the role or the company, their security culture, how they approach specific threats, their plans for new technologies.
So you're turning the interview into more of a two-way conversation.
Right. And remember, the interview is also about finding the right fit for you. Ask questions that help you figure out if this company aligns with your values and goals.
So it's not just about them assessing you, you're assessing them too.
Absolutely.
I think we've covered pretty much everything you need to know to rock those cybersecurity engineer interviews. Any final words of wisdom?
Just be yourself. Authenticity goes a long way. Don't try to be the perfect candidate. Let your personality shine through. Show them you're not just a technical expert. You're a passionate, engaged individual who would be a great addition to their team.
That's great advice. Be confident, be enthusiastic, and be authentic. I think our listener is ready to go land that dream cybersecurity job.
I think so too. It's a fantastic field with tons of opportunity. If you're skilled, dedicated, and passionate about making the digital world a safer place, you'll thrive.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our cybersecurity engineer interview deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and learned a ton. Good luck with your job search, and remember, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those firewalls strong.